Hello, or Assalamu alaikum to my Pakistani Knime friends. Hope you all are enjoying Knime. As usual, today's episode is also short, brief, and sweet. I sincerely hope you all learned something today. Please be generous to comment and give feedback so that we all could learn from each other. Okay, so without further delay, let's begin today's learning. Today's episode is dedicated to the node called partitioning. We all learn on how to use this node in a way that will give greater meaning to our analysis that will help us and you and your managers to make better decisions and create wealth, profitability, growth, or reduction in expenses. Okay, so those of you who are new here, I want to give a full disclosure to them. I am actually a storyteller, and without story, I cannot begin anything. So today's story is about a father who, besides other things, also responsible for upbringing and education of his children. And same as most of us, he also wants to see his children above average. By the way, there is nothing bad about being average. Anyway, he was able to develop a reading habits for his children. Children grew and now need to learn and retain and utilize their learned skills. Soon they will be sitting for SS80 and they need to have a vocabulary bank to ace in the test. Now the dilemma is the father is kind of busy in preparing financial statements, budgeting, forecasting and other analysis at work. So he maintained a long list of vocabulary in Excel file, but he always forget on what he asked before or did he ask all the words and struggle with the sequence he should follow so that kids do not get bored due to repetition. Moreover, he don't have he don't have time to make a test and exhaust himself more after a busy day at work. He thought of using Knime. To solve his issue, he utilized Knime and showed the kids how selection, whether random or some other methodology, is made to test their memories. Kids loved it and developed an interest in learning. Okay, so what we will be doing here is that we will be kind of say developing a workflow in which we would be using 6 nodes, and those nodes are, as I say, that the main one would be partitioning. However, we will also be utilizing other nodes like Excel Reader, Rank, Column Filter, Column Resorter, Column Rename, and our main node partitioning. Going to the next slide. Okay, so the 6 nodes that I mentioned that we will be discussing today, the first one is Excel Reader. This node reads Excel files, Excel SX, Excel SM, and XLS format. There are some other formats like Excel SP or Excel MS something. Uh, Knime does not read them. That's an unfortunate truth. Uh, the data is read and converted to the 9 type string integer, long, double, boolean, local date, local time, and local date and time. Upon execution, the node will scan the input file to determine number and types of the column and output a table with the auto guess structure and 9 types. The second node that we will be using is rank. The user must provide at least one attribute on which a rank should be calculated. The groups are determined by the unique value combination of the grouping attribute. The third node that we will be using is column filter. This node allows columns to be filtered from the input table while only the remaining columns are passed to the output table. Meaning that if there are 10 columns like column A, column B, column C, column D, and henceforth, and you don't want to have a column D in your selection, or you want only certain number of columns in your final output, then you can include them and exclude them from your selection. So one more thing that what I must have been done is that going back to the slide number 1, what I have done here is that I have, once you open the Excel reader node, you have to kind of say, select the file, right, and browse it in the same manner as you are uploading any file on any internet tool. And through the browse, you give the address or the location of the file. There are some other factors that you must consider is the selection of that what sheet you want to read. In case your file contains more than one sheet, by default, it will read only the first sheet. What you have to do is that, if you want the Knime to read other than the first sheet or any other sheet that you want from your file, then you select the size sheet, right? So the first one is that by default, it is the first sheet. And if you want to give any other specific, then you select this option. And from here, the drop down menu will appear, and then you can select the sheet. Here is the overview that comes up, and then you could say apply and OK. Then you will add another node, which we already discussed is the rank. Because it's a vocabulary one, so the father has, the most logical way of ranking is the sequence, alphabetical. So what it does is that it says that, okay, choose the word and then put it in an ascending, right? So the ranking mode is selected standard, and then there is a one more column that if you want another column to be added with the rank, then you give the name of that one. You could give it a rank or a sequence number or whatever you like. Okay, so for column filter, as I say that there are some columns like sequence number, sentence, word meaning, and rank, right? So these 5 columns are available in the file. The father in our case doesn't want the serial number or the sequence sentence in the file. He just wants word, meaning, and the rank. And then he says, right? So this one is the one thing that I want to mention is that this enforce inclusion, enforce exclusion. I never come up with that. What is the reason for it? What I always understand that if it is in this column, even if you don't select, these columns will be there, and those columns which you have not selected, and if it is not selected, they will still be excluded. But anyway, this doesn't hinder us from our next section. Okay, so the fourth node is the column resorter. So this node changes the order of the input columns based on the user defined setting. Columns may be shifted in single step left or right, or completely to the beginning or end of the input table. This is some kind of a sorting that we use in Excel. Furthermore, columns may also be sorted based on their names. The resorted table is provided at the output. Okay, so in this case, what the father has done is that he put the rank, which is, you could say that now a sequence number or a serial number, and then the word and the meaning. So just consider a file that it's a serial number, then a word, and then a meaning. Okay. After doing this, then he selected the next column with column rename. The rename column names or change their type. So with this node, you not only can change the name, but also through this option, right? So a drop-down value, whether it's an integer value, double, decimal, or some other option that you want to use, date, format, and everything, you could use with the drop-down. So in this column, what the father is doing is that he's changing the name of the rank with the serial number, right? What he could have also done is that when he was going back to the second node of rank, here you could see that he gives the ranking attribute the name rank. Here he would have done is that directly here he could give in a serial number. But maybe most probably he hasn't done it because the serial number was already available and he want to exclude it first, then to add it. But anyway. Okay, so we were at the column rename, right? So the column rename, he gives the name, sequence is there, serial number, word, and then the meaning. Okay, the last and the final node for which the whole whole video is made is the partitioning node. This is a very important node, and this is the crux of this video. Okay, so partitioning in this, let's first see that how the configuration looks. So we are doing the first partitioning. In this case, there is an absolute. By absolute, I will explain that what it is, but let me discuss what's this. The input table is split into two partitions. So the partitioning node only distribute the data into two. What you require it based on the attributes that you give, whatever attributes you give, and then the two partitions are available at the two output ports. You see that this port has two output ports, right? This node has two output ports. So this is what you require. This is what you have. Or you could say this is your first partitioning that you will explain, like whatever you select here would come up at the first top node, and the lower node would show what you have been selected. So in this case, the father has selected that instead of absolute number, means that if he has vocabulary bank of 1,000 words, he wants to come only 20, or he wants to come 40 or 50 or whatever. So it gives the standard or an absolute number of outcomes that are required. In terms of relative, a percentage should be given. This is a percentage. So in this node, the selection is 5%. It could be higher, it could be lower. Then take from the top. So it's kind of say again different methods, right? So let me explain what is absolute. So absolute specify the absolute number of rows in the first partition. If there are less rows than the specified here, all rows are entered into the first table, while the second table contains no rows. Relative. The percentage of the number of rows in the input table that are the first partition. It must be between 0 and 100 inclusively. Take from the top. This mode puts the topmost rows into the first output table and the remainder in the second output table. Meaning, if you said out of 1,000, give me top 10, then 10 will be in the first table, 10 will be first table, and the 990 would be in the second table. Linear sampling. This mode always include the first and last row and select the remaining rows linearly over the whole table. Example, every third row. This is useful to downsample a sorted column while maintaining minimum and maximum value. Draw randomly. Random sampling of all rows, you may optionally specify a fixed fee. So 5% on random basis. Stratified sampling. Check this button if you want stratified sampling. That is, the distribution of values in the selected column is approximately retained in the output table. You may optionally specify a fixed seed. Use random seed. If either random or stratified sampling is selected, you may enter a fixed seed here in order to get reproducible results upon re-execution. If you do not specify a seed, a new random seed is taken for each extraction. Okay, what does it mean? It means that let's take this configuration. So in this feed, the father has selected 5% drawn randomly. So uh, so the first output would come when executed. The first output would come with two words with 5% of words. Let's say the first word is apple, banana, and cat, right? So if you select this button, when you re-execute, apple, banana, cat will appear in the next output as well. Then if you re-execute it, apple, banana, cat will reappear in your output. If you do not select this, then if you have like the first output would be apple, banana, cat. Second output would be dog, bull, or elephant. Third output could be grass, plant, sofa, etc. So it means that after at every execution, if its use random seed is not clicked or is not checked, then every time the output would be different. Okay, now how our workflow looks like. So this is how our workflow will look like. So you remember the first node was Excel reader. So in this case, the configuration that we have given is this one, right? So Excel reader, browsing the file, selecting which sheet is required, apply, and execute. The second node that we selected is rank, giving serial number, and this is this one, right? So in this case, the selection was sorted based on word, and the column name was given rank. The third one is column filter. Column filter is where we have excluded and included certain columns to be in our output file or table. Then we use column resorter. So the column resorter is when we say that we want rank as the first word in the second column and meaning in the third column, right? Then we rename, column rename. Column rename is where we give the column which was named previously named as rank as a serial number or S dot number. Then the last one and is the partitioning. So the selection method, what we have used in selection. So you could see this. In this case, we have given 5% randomly, okay, and apply. Okay. Okay. So this one, Excel Writer. The Excel Writer is a bonus note for today, and I want you to execute that, and you have to examine your knowledge and expertise about Excel Writer and give comments in below so that other people could also read that and know how the Excel Writer is executed. Okay, so I haven't executed it for you. However, through my own, it's back-end working, I have executed them, and these are the outputs that I got it, right? So you could see that the 5% were coming like 12 items, and they were different, they were randomly selected. So you see that I have E, G, L, P, Q, R, right? C, concise, everything. So it's no more an alphabetical, and it's kind of still random. And every time the father runs it, it gives you 12 rows, 12 rows, 12 rows, 12 rows, because it's a 5% selection, but it's every time selecting different words, different words, different words, different words. So now, has it solved the problem of our father? Let's see. Right. So he had vocabulary built, how selected. So he has avoided repeat. How? Because if you see the outputs are every time different. So now he is not only able to ensure that he has asked all the words, but he's also ensuring that it's kind of say randomly selected, so they are not from say top 10, top middle 12, top 12 or lower 12. So it's kind of a random selection, and then it's also challenging to the kids that they know that the questions or the vocabulary could be asked from any position of the Excel file or any position of the vocabulary bank. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you liked today's presentation. I know that it was maybe lots of people already knew those things, but it's for everybody. We all learn from each other. Please give comments, and also tell me that what you want to see next, what you want to learn next. Thank you very much. We will be there soon. Thanks. Bye. Have a good day.